one we are going to deal with is the type of matrices, and the first type is column matrix. We already know that if we are taking an order of a matrix as m by n, there are m rows and n columns. A column matrix means there will be only one column for the matrix. One column means if I am writing like this 1, 2, 3, there is only one column. How many rows are there? First row there is an element 1, second row, third row. So 3 rows and 1 column. So the order of a column matrix will be of the form 3 by 1. In general, the order of a column matrix will be of the form m by 1. There can be any number of rows, but the column number will be only 1. Second type is a row matrix. If column matrix contains only one column, what will be the case of row matrix? Row matrix contains only one row. There can be infinite number of columns. There will be only one row. So the matrix will be, for example, the matrix can be of the form like this. There is only one row. How many columns are there? First column, second column, third column, fourth column. So one row and 4 columns. Okay. So in general, the order of a row matrix will be of the form 1 by n. In general order of a matrix, we are taking as m by n. That is the reason why we are taking column matrix order as m by 1 and a row matrix order as 1 by n. Okay. The next one is diagonal matrix. Before going to the diagonal matrix, if I am taking an example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. What's the order of the matrix? 3 by 3. There are 3 rows and 3 columns. These elements 1, 5, 9, which is in the diagonal, are called diagonal elements. This is the main diagonal elements, and 3, 5, 7 are called known by the name of diagonal elements. So main diagonal elements and off diagonal elements. Okay. And if we are saying about the case of a diagonal matrix is a matrix in which all the non-diagonal elements are 0. All the non-diagonal elements are 0. The first thing for a diagonal matrix is it must be a square matrix. What's the specialty of a square matrix? Compared to a rectangle, what's the specialty of a square? If we are taking the case of a rectangle, opposite sides are equal, isn't it? But if we are taking the case of a square, all sides are equal. Same way, if you want to describe a square matrix, can you say what a square matrix is? A square matrix is a matrix with the number of rows equal to number of columns. A square matrix is a matrix with the number of rows equal to number of columns. So I took an example like this. Number of rows is 3. Number of columns is also 3. So the diagonal elements are 1, 5, 9. Main diagonal elements are 1, 5, 9. Diagonal matrix means it is a matrix in which, if I am taking a 3 by 3 matrix, diagonal elements can be there. 1, 5, 10. It can be any element other than 0, but off diagonal elements, all the other elements except the diagonal elements must be 0. All the elements except the diagonal elements. All the elements except the diagonal elements are said to be non-diagonal elements. Non-diagonal elements, if of all the non-diagonal elements of a square matrix is 0, then the matrix is termed by the name diagonal matrix. Okay. The second one is scalar matrix. For a scalar matrix, it must be first a square matrix, then it must be a diagonal matrix. Diagonal matrix means the only non-zero entries are in the diagonals. Okay. If I am taking the case of a 3 by 3 matrix, the only non-zero elements are in the diagonals. To be a scalar matrix, if I am taking the first element as 5, all the diagonal elements must be 5. So if for a scalar matrix, there are two conditions. First of all, it must be a square matrix. That is, order number of rows must be equal to number of columns. Second, it must be a diagonal matrix. Diagonal matrix means only diagonal elements must be there. All other non-diagonal elements must be 0. And the main condition for the scalar matrix is all the diagonal elements must be the same. Okay. Again, the next one is identity matrix. Identity matrix has another name, and it is so special for this chapter. It is termed by the name unit matrix. Unit means it is 1. For a matrix to be a unit matrix, first of all, it must be a square matrix. Second, it must be a diagonal matrix. Third, it must be a scalar matrix. And fourth, all the diagonal elements must be 1. Okay, this is 1. So 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. This is a matrix of order. This is a unit matrix of order 3 by 3. If I want to write a unit matrix of order 2 by 2, there are only 2 rows and 2 columns. Diagonal element must be 1 and all other non-diagonal elements must be 0. If I want to write a unit matrix of order 4 by 4, what should I do? There are 4 rows and 4 columns. All the diagonal elements must be 1. Okay, and other elements, all the non-diagonal elements must be zeros. Okay, so the first one is column matrix. In the column matrix, there is only one column, any number of rows and only one column. In the case of a row matrix, any number of columns can be there, but number of rows must be 1. What about the diagonal matrix? For a matrix to be a diagonal matrix, first of all, it must be a square matrix. Square matrix means number of rows is equal to number of columns. And the diagonal elements, only non-zero elements will be, only non-zero entries must be in the diagonals. All other elements, all other non-diagonal elements must be zeros. What's a scalar matrix? It must be a diagonal matrix. For a diagonal matrix, it must be a square matrix. It's a diagonal matrix with all diagonal elements is the same. Okay, and what about identity matrix? Identity matrix is a scalar matrix in which all the diagonal elements are 1. Clear?